We are PodcastVideoscom. Our goal is to educate, enlighten, engage, and entertain. We believe in the power of love and transformation through storytelling. Friends and family, boys and girls, this is Story Scaling with PodcastVideos.com team. I am Bang, and to my left I have
Sam,
Bob,
Dan,
Nate, Parker.
And we have a fantastic episode. I mean, I'm biased. I think all our episodes are fantastic. But let us know how y'all feel out there. If y'all want to see some particular content or if you need something specific, let us know and we'll touch on it. PodcastVideos.com is our name. And Parker, I got a love and not so love relationship with that. Because I feel like when you hear the name, automatically kind of boxes us in.
Yeah.
Right? So what we're going to do right now is go in a circle. Everybody's going to name something that this space can be used for. The first person that can't think of something, you're out.
So it's going to be a continual.
It's just continuous.
You got to leave the podcast.
You say this, and then the last one standing wins.
All right.
Don't say podcast.
For what it can be used more. Okay.
Yeah, like what can we use this space for? Obviously podcasting, but what else have you seen this space used for, or what's something that it can be used for? Yeah. Just to show people that the opportunities are endless. Whatever you can think of, we can kind of bring to life here.
Yeah.
I'll go first.
Okay. We'll just work around the same order as introduction. You ready out?
Interviews.
Okay.
fantasy football draft.
Memorializing events.
Guesting on other people's podcasts.
Do we take that?
Well, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, you can come in here and be a guest if you're going to be on a show or an interview.
Yeah.
Like that.
Come in and use our studios for
Like that.
Yeah.
Networking events.
birthday parties.
Who said virtual events? You said that already?
No, he said
memorialize.
Oh, yeah, virtual events. Yeah.
Oh, what did you say?
The first thing I said?
No, what was your second thing you said?
Virtual events.
Oh, sorry. I was lost. Remote meetings.
Oh.
Anniversary parties.
Ooh.
Business development, kind of like we're doing right here, because this really is our own campaign.
Nonprofit events. Events with nonprofits, I guess.
Audiobooks.
Commercials.
Product reviews.
Oh, Sam bringing some heat.
That's a good one.
Voiceovers for online apps that you're building.
How many are we in right now? Everybody's
gone twice.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was about to flunk
12,
this out on
13,
purpose and be like,
15,
all right, now we have to move on because they're gonna get bored of this.
Yeah,
so
15.
I was gonna crash it.
All right.
I was going to crash too because I couldn't think of anything.
Well, it's a lot. We ain't even talked about commercials. We haven't talked about HR training videos. All that to say, the list goes on and on and on. And today we're going to talk about campaigns. Parker, take it away.
Ooh, so campaigns are something we're really excited about. We're getting those up and going right now. The first one that we're rolling out is going to be really cool. One of the things we always talk about in the studio is how to utilize the studio space. But one of the really cool things, too, is taking it beyond just the physical studio in of itself. So as everybody in here knows, we do have a mobile kit. We come to your event, set up lights, set up cameras, microphones, the whole 9 yards with that. So one of the things we're utilizing that mobile kit for is wedding. So we're launching a campaign that'll be coming out about the time this drops called the Wedding Virtual Guestbook. And really the whole idea behind it is those of you that are married that are listening or have been to a lot of weddings, there's your traditional, we've got a photo booth, you sign the guest book, they have a videographer there, really cool, captures a lot of great memories. But what about a way to kind of take that a step further? Like I think back to my wedding a couple years ago, and it was just, we have a guest book, that's great, but I don't even remember probably 75% of the people that were there. It's just a crazy, especially for the bride and groom, it's a very crazy, hectic day. Your mind's going 1,000 different ways. Like I remember particular faces, but I know there were people there that I didn't even see or have the chance to talk to.
Right.
So really the whole video guest book idea came out of how do we continue to capture those stories, which is the whole purpose of what we do here. It's capturing the audio video content for a wide range of uses. So the video guest book is we come in, set up at your reception, very streamlined, just like anything else. But what's great is you're actually able to get stories and conversations from people that are at your event. So think about grandparents sharing down, words of wisdom to the new couple, or your crazy friends who, as they come by throughout the night, get progressively more slurred. Different things like that. It's just how fun would it be to, yes, have your wedding video. That's fantastic. And we're not replacing your videographer at your event by any means. I mean, they're there to capture the details. We're there to help capture just those conversations that are happening. So coming in, friends talking about how, I remember whenever, Bang first met his girl, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. He was so in love, all that kind of different fun stories that you don't always get to kind of think back on.
Yeah.
So from that to just family, friends, maybe it's, somebody in your life who's been very prominent, maybe a mentor or something that kind of has seen you graduate through different phases of life, just sharing maybe how proud they are of it. So there's really no end to even with that, capturing exactly what can be said. But we'll take that, we'll set up at your event, record, take that, edit it all down, mention who's been in there, we'll put their name in as they come in and talk. And then really they'll just kind of follow a simple who they are, how they know bride or groom, and then a funny story or wisdom essentially from that. So really it's just a compilation video at the end that you can watch and just relive that moment outside of your wedding video. But we also can send it to your videographer. They can patch it into their work if they want to as well. But you have a very specific video that's designed around that. So come in, within 24 hours, we give you some social media snippets that you can start throwing out on Instagram, TikTok, wherever you want to put them, just so people can already kind of get a quick glimpse into what it was like. But then within 3 days, you get the full video that you can, keep for whatever you want to do in a drive, or if you wanted to throw it on YouTube or make more snippets for social media, you can. But really just a way to kind of time capsule and reflect on those memories and that kind of words of wisdom that you normally wouldn't either remember in the time or can kind of just get lost in translation over time. So it's just an evergreen way to capture those special moments.
Fire.
And we're pushing it basically for weddings because we think that's an easy way to jump into it. But there's no reason this couldn't have been at my grandparents' 50th anniversary or your 10-year high school reunion.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Same idea,
high
same
school
execution.
reunions is a fantastic way to use that. I mean, think about coming in 10 years later, 20 years later as you go down the road. Now as you get older, you're going to forget a lot of those because it's just you're getting old. But 10 years later, be like, man, sitting down with this person, like we used to just skip class and go grab lunch and all that kind of stuff. Now we're both married, kids, all that kind of just seeing that evolution of life and being able to track it is really cool.
Well, stay in school, kids. Don't skip class.
Yeah.
Even corporate events could leverage this, right? So if it's their 5th anniversary, 10th anniversary, you get people making speeches, you get different key business partners that you're aligned with. Mm-hmm. So it really is a virtual guest book is the way to think about it, as a way to memorialize that moment in time.
Totally. I think about you look back at photo albums and it's like, man, I remember this, or I remember what I was doing, what I was wearing, who I was hanging out with. But this is video, so it just enriches that experience that much more. Yeah.
Depends on if you're proud of what you were wearing.
Yeah, that's what you were hanging out with. Yeah, that's true.
Memorializing those wedding outfits too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's got a story, right?
Yeah.
And this is a way to capture it.
Yep.
Yeah. Sam, you brought up something too. It's not like this is a virtual guest book, so like you're saying, weddings, anniversaries, corporate events, but there's other campaigns, right, that you could leverage this for. You were talking about influencer campaigns and stuff like that.
Yeah, I just think our spaces are for video and audio production. And so, if you're an influencer and you've got, I usually have X amount of brand deals a month, and I don't necessarily have the space or the equipment or the capacity to do it on my own, but I have the following I want to leverage. You can sign up, come in and use our space for whatever you want. One recording a month for 6 months and knock out all your brand deals, all your recordings, whatever content you need to create in our studio. Use it and go from there.
Yeah, it's really never ending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How can take somebody that actually has a campaign, a state representative or something like that. How can this space be of value to them? You know what I mean? You're running for office, you can come in here and talk about what you have going on and what you want to do, tell your story and spread that abroad to your your following and stuff like that.
And it'd be easy, it doesn't require a ton of planning. You don't have to coordinate a studio space and a videographer and an editor and all, we do it all for you.
Totally.
So.
And the idea is not completely new. Everybody, you guys have probably all been phones. We remember Uncle Roger with the big video camera, terrible lighting, no editing, a lot of it basically looking at his shoes. Same idea, we just have a lot better quality to execute with these days.
Yeah. Dan, you mentioned that last episode that we just released, how easy it is now to just come in and, get everything kind of taken care of. Like Sam is saying, you don't have to worry about editing. We'll even help you with your show notes or kind of the script, you know what I mean? And so I don't know, Parker, talk about that a little bit. Just how this space is really one stop. You literally can just come in, and we'll help coach you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm probably a prime example. Everyone has something they want to talk about. I most of the time talk about just stuff that makes no sense, but I do it for very long periods of time. But at the end of the day, it's like, we have so many people that I've talked to that are just, hey, I've always wanted to do this. I don't really know how, or people that have tried it. We have a few local resources and a couple of the libraries and different stuff that have podcasting studios within there. But I remember I always go back to the poor lady who brought her audiobook to us, that she had written a book. She recorded like 13 chapters of her audiobook, asked if we could just edit it up. I was like, yeah, sure, send it over. Let me take a look at it. And this was very early on in the company. Started listening to it and realized I don't know how it exactly happened. I don't know if she just didn't mess with her volumes or if there's multiple mics and she talked into the wrong one. But I had to like turn my headphones all the way up, boost all the audio levels all the way up, and I could still just like barely make her voice out. Mm-hmm. And had to be the person to go back to her and say, hey, I know you've spent however many hours doing this. We can't use any of it. It's just, you can't hear anything. There's no way to even make this work with AI or any other kind of tool out there.
There's a minimum capture quality.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it was just, for her, it was a huge setback. But in reality, it's, yes, it's a free resource you got to use, and there's a place and time for it, and that's great. But at the same time, you come in with our mic check that we have. You spend a couple $100 to come in for the entirety of that book. And now all of a sudden you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about how do I set this up and how do I adjust this volume. It's taken care of every time.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main thing that it comes to is people always have stuff they want to talk about, and that's great. But the one thing you don't want to add on top of everything else is having to remember all the other steps into making sure I get it right. Is my camera in focus? Well, if I'm filming at home, is the light coming in at the right time? Did I hit record? Do I have the audio coming in the right way? All of those different things can actually take away from what you're wanting to talk about because it's in the back of your mind the whole time.
I mean, it's a lot that goes into it. Like, even now, you don't think about... I mean, Sam, you're a specialist. Like, you make sure that all of this stuff works, but you don't think about camera and focus. And I don't know why the word aperture is coming in my mind. I don't even know.
That's a thing.
I don't even know what that means. I come in here and don't got to worry about my aperture.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Because y'all worrying about it.
You don't have to worry about your audio levels. You don't got to worry
Anything.
about dropping footage. Is it going to be able to be edited on the software? Yeah. Do I have access to editing software? Like,
you don't have to become the producer. We handle that.
Yeah. And that's the great thing on top of all of that. Not only is it the ease of mind when it comes to knowing that your recording's going to come out good is... If I want to have a guest, am I going to invite them to my house or my shed that I've got my stuff set up in? You've got a centralized location here. We've got a coffee shop next door. You can meet them there. But it's, hey, meet me at this location, and especially if it's somebody that's a guest you don't even know. Yeah. It's a little bit stranger to invite them to the house, or maybe you're both local, but you wouldn't want to invite them to the house.
My shed?
Yeah.
Parker, what kind of shows are you listening to?
People build sheds for you, you know. The pod shed. I don't know. Maybe we need to make one. But, one of those things with that is just how much more of a professionalism it adds to the show. And not only that, but just the ease of mind of an actual guest that's coming on that, again, you maybe don't even know on a professional or personal level. But y'all became acquainted via socials or whatever that may be. You can tell them to meet you at a nice location. It's got a Google Maps address. It's in a public area. It's brand new, which is fantastic. So it just kind of helps give you that another leg up on, hey, meet me at the studio, as opposed to let's find a place. Like I know some people that recorded a coffee shop, but they may go to one coffee shop and it may not be available or it's too busy, so they need to go to a different one. Now you're jumping around last minute. It's always set in stone and ready to go every time.
I mean, we handle
the aperture.
Yeah,
take care of the aperture. Make sure your aperture good.
Yeah.
Come to us. Make sure your aperture is good. No, but we have people that come specifically for meetings.
Oh yeah,
because of that reason. Like you just have that professional look. Yep. I know one of our clients was doing a podcast and it was going really well in his house. You know what I mean? You see the bedroom and all of that stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's your entry level how you want to do it. But you come here and you just get something that just feels a little bit more elevated. And so that's pretty cool. Bob, sell us on campaigns.
Sell us on campaigns.
Talk to the people out there. Tell them why they need to use this space for their campaign.
It's clean. It's professional. You show up. You have your conversation. Then you get back to your daily business, and we take care of the rest for you.
Yeah. I think that's ultimately what it always comes around to is just, you don't have to worry about it, especially if you choose the editing side. You know, even if you don't choose the editing side, you know, for some people, they always just think, oh, well, you do this. There's people that don't know that we do the editing and people that don't know that we don't do the editing, essentially. And so it's like there's multiple offerings there. So it's like if you do have video experience and you know how to edit, that's great. But I can come here and just spend 1 hour studio time and I get all the assets and I know they're in focus, I know they sound good, and then I can clean them up from there. That eliminates a whole section of work.
Totally.
But for those that do the editing or that don't know that we do the editing, I mean, show up, record for an hour, 48, 72 hours later, you have a fully ready to go podcast for you, and it's done. Like you can throw it on your YouTube, your website, split it into socials, whatever you want to do. But the greatest thing about that is just it's one less thing on your plate. Totally. And that's the ultimate goal of building the studio and making it turnkey and making it easier for people to get on and schedule. Maybe they need to reschedule because a guest cancels. Maybe something just happens to come up. Making it easy for everyone, because what happens is if I don't have to think about everything else that's going on, I can just focus on what I want to talk about, which is going to ultimately enhance that content, because now your mind is solely focused on your conversation and not everything else. If you're doing it yourself, now, okay, I've got this hour long. It's going to take me 4 hours to edit it down. Then I've got to get this. Mm-hmm. Plus, I'm working a full-time job, and I've got little kids. How am I going to balance all this stuff?
Aperture
may not be right.
It's more the f-stop.
Yeah, that's it.
F-stop.
Yeah.
That's next conversation.
Next podcast. Well, at the end of the day, too, like, all that people are listening to is what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
They don't even, like you said, they don't get to see everything else. So your success is, all of that goes into it, but ultimately, people only care about what they hear.
Yeah.
So.
But on top of that, I mean, going on, people are only really listening to what you're talking about. But if what you're talking about doesn't sound or look good,
exactly,
it will impact that. I've started listening to a podcast that's out of the UK. It's about a soccer club that I follow, and it's like you can tell it's just some like two dudes in a bar, but like I literally have to turn the volume all the way up in my Jeep because the volume audio levels aren't right. So then whenever a random ad comes on, my 6-month-old in the back like gets a startle, and I'm about to swerve into a ditch because it's like, good gosh, and I have to turn it back down. Then when they start talking again, I have to turn it back up, and it's just like
the UK. Your volume's in metric.
This is true. You know, and so it's like, I mean, it's the content's good, but at times it's hard to hear what they're saying because it is so quiet, even turned all the way up. And so, yes, people are going to listen to what you're talking about, but what you want to be able to do and what we are here to help do is make sure that every time they get in, it's going to sound great. It's nice and clean. Audio levels are accurate. Video is in focus. Video is set up on the right people. All those different things, because ultimately, yes, your content and the discussion around what you're having is the utmost importance. But if that quality isn't there for people that want to tune into it, it just removes that instant credibility, because it's like, this is just somebody talking in a shed or whatever, the pod shed. It's adding that level of professionalism, because it's just like, oh, these people, like, I'm sure we've all listened to a podcast where you can tell, okay, this is a legit studio. It sounds good. It's clean. There's depth. Or, oh, this was recorded on an iPhone sitting at a bar kind of thing. So.
Whether it's conscious or subconscious, we're all thinking.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely right.
Well, that's the other piece of campaigns we haven't brought up, is that, a lot of people still think of podcasts as mostly an audio setup, not video.
Yeah.
But we've been telling everybody that comes through the door, record the video anyway. Even if you're not putting out a video podcast, that video is your social media campaign.
Yes, 100%.
That's the content that you can put on social to push your podcast.
Yep.
And that's worth it by itself, even if you don't use the video for anything else, and you're strictly an audio-only outlet for the podcast. This is how you promote the podcast. This is your campaign based off the video.
Yep.
But Dad, I don't need social media.
How are you going to grow your show?
You're out.
Just see yourself out. Man, that's the biggest thing. People are like, well, I just want to do this. I mean, it's social media. Whether it be you're coming in to do a podcast you're going to do continually about a particular topic, or family legacy stuff, which is what we're starting to push. We're going to be starting to push a lot on campaigns, like a back-to-school type of thing, where come in, you got a kid going off to college. Talk about what it's been like to, them to take that step, and maybe they're moving away, or maybe they're just going to the U of A, different things like that. There's so many different realms to it, but, say going back to the social media, why would I use social media for that? It's like, well, most of the people on your social media are family and friends. Mm-hmm. You can put a long post with a few pictures here and there that's like, oh, we had a great summer and did this. People are going to read that. That's cool. But if I can actually get on and take that, put it into a video snippet of you all talking about it, now I'm going to go, oh, that's really cool. Like, I can hear them talking. Plus, as you do a family legacy thing, it's a generational. Imagine doing one today, your kid's about ready to go off to college, do one in 5 years, they've graduated college, people are going to look different.
Yeah.
That freshman 15 may have kicked in pretty strong, or for some of us 40. And so it's one of those things where it's like you have that ability to be able to kind of build those blocks to share with family and friends, because it's cool to see that transition. Like, oh, I remember when so-and-so was a little 10-year-old, now they're all grown up and doing this. And it's another way to kind of just let people get a glimpse into your life and what's going on, if that's the avenue you choose to do.
Totally. Final word goes to Nate.
Man, Parker's keeping it real here, freshman 15 and pod chads and I mean,
It's just me.
give it up to Parker, man.
Yeah, right.
You guys, if you made it this far in the episode, then you need no more convincing. Excuse me. People from running for office, come in here and get your campaign tidied up, and let us help you out. Influencers, you got some stuff to post about, promote. This is the space for you to come. Who am I missing? Anything y'all excited about out there? If it's something that you want to talk about, something that you want to get other people excited about, let us help you run a campaign. We got some cool campaigns coming up. And that's what I got. Anything else?
Love it.
Stay tuned.
It's not a shed.
It's not a shed.
This location is. But coming soon, maybe.
Yeah.
Coming soon to a shed near you.
Coming soon. See you next time. I'm Bang.
I'm Sam.
Bob.
Dan.
Nate.
Parker.